In this lesson, we're going to be provided with word problems, and we're going to analyze the data to determine, is the data going to represent an exponential model? Notice there is growth models and there's decay models. Is it going to represent is it going to represent a log model? And in that case, by the way, we're going to be working with a natural log. So it's like this upside down kind of U to the side. Or is it going to be a logistic model? And in case we have two horizontal asymptotes, this is what a growth model looks like, and this is what a logistic decay model looks like. So we're going to refer back to this as we go through the problems. Let's start by looking at problem number 1. Please read number 1 in lesson 3 to yourself at this time. Oops, this is not number 1. Let me pause it and find what our first problem from lesson 3 looks like. All right, so we have all these values here. I want you to put an X next to age and a Y next to value. Also, just as a reminder, L1 on our calculator is going to be the column for age, and L2 in this problem will be the column for the value of the car. X is always L1 and Y is always L2 when we plug it into the table. So we have, as we can see, we have a depreciating car value, and we're provided with this data. And so the first thing I want you to do is I want you to clear your calculator. So go second plus 712. And you are following along with me live, or if you are watching the video at home, please. All right, so the first thing after we clear this, we're going to hit stat. And from stat, we are going to go and we're going to edit. Now, L1 again is our X's. So I have 0, 2, 4, and 6. And my value of the car is $20,999. And you can type them in accordingly. Now, I have made a mistake earlier today, so I'm going to go back really quick just to ensure I did correctly plug these in. Okay, everything looks great. Now, before I go and adjust the window here, I'm going to come off to the side here. I want us to be able to see, I want to go slightly to the left and slightly to the right when I actually look at this. So I'm going to go to -2, and I'm going to go all the way out to A. I want to be able to see this entire column of X's. So I'm going to go again, just below 0 and just above 6. So I chose -2 and 8. And I'm going to do the same concept for the value of the car. So I could go all the way down to 0, and that would be fine. But I'm going to definitely go up past 21,000. So maybe I go up to 23,000 or 24,000, something like that. Let's go to Windows now. Again, I'm going to go from -2 to 8. And we can see the entire value if you want to. So we could go from 0 all the way up to 23,000. At this time, we want to see what are all the dots that represent the data points. So to get that, you're going to hit the blue key and hit the stat plot. And it's already highlighted. We need to press enter twice. And now graph. Now, I need to look at these data points, and we don't have a lot, which makes it difficult, but I can see it's kind of coming down like this, and I need to compare it back to what we started with. So I want you to think, what do you think this represents? Exponential, logarithmic, or logistic? I think it's going to be a exponential decay. I believe it's going to be exponential decay. Now, how can we actually determine that? Well, let's actually come up with the exact equation for this. So let's go to stat and calculate, and I think it's going to be exponential. So I'm going to go all the way down to exponential, and I'm going to press enter all the way through. And I'm not going to take time to write that down right now because I don't know for sure if this is a great way to model the data points. Let's go up to y equals, and let's go to vars. Vars is going to be on your calculator right here. Let's hit vars. We're going to go down to number 5, stat. We're going to go across to EQ. And now the first option is our regression model. So when you press enter, it's going to copy and paste that exact data into an exponential equation. Now let's hit graph and see if this line, it's not going to perfectly go through all the points. That's not the objective of it. It's going to take like the average of those. And I can see this is a great model of the data points that I have. So I do believe this is exponential. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come off the side and I'm going to write exponential. Now he wants us to write down the exact equation, and I don't think this is really enough room for me, so I'm going to write it up above. I'm going to press pause after I go to, again, stat, calculate. I'm going to go down to exponential regression. I'm going to press enter all the way through, and I'm going to write this down. So I'm going to press pause and write this down as an actual equation. Simply wrote down the exact equation, and now I'm going to go through and I'm going to answer these questions. According to the model, they're asking what will the value, I want to underline what I'm trying to find or box it in. What will the value be? And then I'm going to also do something else to identify what they're providing me. So I'm being provided with 10 years. Years is an x value. So I'm going to write down x equals 10. And I want to know what is the value. Value is y. I don't know what the value is. Mr. McFarland wants us to do this algebraically. So I'm going to simply take 10 and I'm going to type it in here to get an answer. So I can grab my calculator. I'm going to plug 10 in here. So I'm going to start with this value, 19,375.06053 times 0.879771087, and I'm going to raise it to the 10th power. So this would be the value after 10 years. I'm going to press pause, and this is the value after 10 years. Keep in mind, it is very important that you understand the math part of it, but I also believe on your advanced placement exam that this type of a question, you will be allowed to use a calculator. And in that case, we want to be able to answer as quickly as possible. So if everybody can go back up to graph for me. Before I type in 10 and receive a y value, I need to make sure that the domain allows me to go out as far as 10. So hit Windows. Right now, my domain only goes out to 8. So let's adjust that and go just past 10. Now I'm able to go second, trace value, and type in 10. And we can see that we get the exact answer. Once again, I believe this is the way you should do it for your actual AP exam. But for your unit exam that's upcoming, you will need to show your work. Let's look at part B. How old? So I want to box in the question. Now, old is talking about age. That means I don't know what X is, but I know Y is 10,000. And I need to solve. So my Y is 10,000. So I have 10,000. Now, as I write this down, I want to share with you that I'm going to plug in the exact answers on my calculator. But when I write down the equation, I'm going to round it to the nearest tenth as I write things down. Just please watch. It just will save me a little bit of time. So I have 19,375 maybe I'll go 2 places, 0.06 times 0.87. And I want to raise that to the x. I want to know what x is. So when I'm solving for x, the very first step will be to divide by 19,375. Now, when I plug it into my calculator, I want to be very clear that when I plug this in, I'm not plugging in this rounded. I'm plugging in the entire value. This is just for me to not write down all the numbers. It just saves me a little bit of time. So I'm going to take 10,000, and I'm going to divide it by 19,375, and I'm going to write this entire number down, 0.06053. If you continue to round, your answer will not be accurate. So, okay, I know this is the exact answer, so I'm going to leave it on my calculator right now. And actually, maybe I'll write it down. It's kind of up to you, but 0.516 equals 0.87 to the x. Okay. I need to keep this exact answer somewhere near that I can refer back to it. Now, if I want to solve for x, I need to get rid of this number. How do I do that? The whole reason we learn logs is so that we can solve for variables in the exponent position. So I need to take, if I could insert into this place right here, I need to take the log of this number of 0.87, this entire thing. So over here is going to be the log of 0.87, that entire thing. When we do that, the log base 0.879, blah, 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 and then 0.879, these two, they don't just disappear. And by the way, if you're a little confused what that would look like, I can write this part would look like this, log of 0.879, and then behind it would be 0.879 raised to the x. When the base and the number just behind it are exactly the same, they don't wipe out, they don't disappear. In fact, they are going to reduce down to 1, and then the x comes in front. So here, x is going to be by itself. On the right-hand side, x is by itself. So x equals. Now on this side, I want to plug in the exact answer. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to hit math, and I'm going to go up 3 places. Now, in the log position, I need to write down this entire number. So 0.8797710.897. The number behind it is going to be this 5 number, and I'm going to write down the entire thing. It's up above. 0.5161274.198. And now I press enter, and this is my answer. X equals 5.16. Now remember, X is in terms of age, so this is in terms of years. So after 5.16 years, we know that the price of the vehicle will drop below $10,000. This is what you have to do for your unit exam. Now, on your actual exam, how could we do this quicker? When I'm talking actual exam, I'm talking about May 13th, your AP exam. Let's go up here. We know the value of the car is a Y value. I'm going to graph it and go second trace, intersect, enter, 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 and we can see we get the exact same answer. Again, this is how I think you should do it on your AP exam, unless they say you have to show your work, all of your work. This is how we need to do it for your unit exam. If I'm you and I have extended time, and I know I have to do it algebraically, I would probably do it algebraically, and then since it's so quick to plug into the calculator, I'd make sure that my answers match up.